An image of a drowned boy triggers outrage across Europe. In our Music Maker segment, Kenyan artist Makadem. And who's that alluring pig? Kermit the Frog's secret life revealed. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We begin with a heart-wrenching story. As the Europe migrant crisis deepens, two Syrian toddlers who drowned with their mother as they were trying to reach Greece were buried in the Syrian town of Kobani on Friday. A photograph of the body of one of the toddlers, 3-year-old Aylan Kurdi, washed up on the shore, appeared in newspapers around the world, prompting sympathy and outrage at the perceived inaction of developed nations in helping refugees. Abdullah Kurdi, their father, wept as their bodies were buried alongside each other in the martyrs' ceremony in the predominantly Kurdish town of Kobani, also known as Ain al-Arab, near the border with Turkey. After the burial, Abdullah told reporters there were many attempts to cross to Greece before the fateful trip, describing how they managed to survive. Kurdi said he hoped the death of his family would encourage Arab states to help Syrian refugees.
I want from Arab governments, not European countries, to see what happened to my children, and because of them to help people. I don't want anything else.
Well, the harrowing picture of the drowned 3-year-old Syrian boy washed up on the Turkish shore appears to have galvanized Europe's leaders into doing more to address the refugee crisis. France, Germany and Italy issued a joint call Thursday for compulsory quotas of refugees for all EU states. Henry Ridgwell has more, and a caution here: some of the images in this report may be disturbing.
Images now seared on Europe's consciousness. A lifeless young boy lies face down on a Turkish beach. He, his brother and mother and several other Syrians drowned trying to reach Greece on Wednesday. Relatives say the family wanted to join other family members in Canada. The boy, named locally as 3-year-old Aylan Kurdi from Kobani in Syria, is rapidly becoming a symbol of Europe's failure to address the crisis.
It's very difficult for anyone to see that photograph and not feel they have to do something, that something must be done, something must change. Europe cannot stand anymore not doing enough to help refugees in this very serious refugee crisis.
Despite the deaths, migrants continue to depart Turkey's shores for Greece, 23,000 last week alone. Most are refugees from Syria. Mohammed al-Marati and his family survived that crossing. He's seen here arriving on the Greek island of Lesbos 2 weeks ago.
My house that I spent my whole life dreaming of building, that I built with my own money, pain and effort, was destroyed by a barrel bomb that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad threw down from a plane. Everything has been destroyed, the future, the past and the present. Syria has gone.
For Mohammed and his family, the journey is far from over. The route to Western Europe runs through the Balkans and Hungary, which is refusing to let refugees through. There were clashes Thursday as Hungarian riot police tried to force hundreds of migrants off a train heading for Austria. Journalists were forced to leave the area. Hungary says it is Berlin's problem, but Germany, France and Italy issued a joint call Thursday for a compulsory, fair distribution of refugees across Europe.
Moi, je pense ici aux victimes qui ne sont jamais photographiées.
I'm thinking about those victims who were never photographed, who are unknown, and also about the future victims if we do nothing.
Futur si nous ne faisons rien.
That's why it's time to act.
C'est pourquoi il est temps d'agir. Nous allons agir. Nous avons déjà agi.
Britain has faced criticism for refusing to take a bigger share of Syrian refugees. Prime Minister David Cameron said the UK would fulfil its moral responsibilities. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
Well, in Sierra Leone, nearly 1,000 people have been put under quarantine following the death of a 67-year-old woman who tested positive for Ebola. The quarantine comes 5 weeks before the country can be officially declared Ebola-free. It will last for 3 weeks as long as no new cases are recorded. More than 11,000 people have died since the start of the Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. Now, for more on the quarantine, Abdoulaye Bayarte, Sierra Leone government spokesperson, joins me live via phone from Freetown. Mr. Bayarte, welcome to Africa 54. Mr. Abdoulaye Bayarte, can you hear me? Looks like we're having some technical problems there. We're not able to reach Mr. Bayarte. Are you there, Mr. Abdoulaye Bayarte? Okay, we move on and now on to Somalia, in the Horn of Africa, where the United Nations has just, well, let's go back to Sierra Leone. Let's go back to Sierra Leone, where Mr. Abdoulaye Bayarte, spokesperson of the government of Sierra Leone, is standing by. Welcome to Africa 54. Mr. Bayarte, are you there? Abdoulaye, can you hear me? Okay, our attempts there seem to have failed once again. On to Somalia, the United Nations has just released a result of the latest food security and nutrition assessment for that country, and the outlook is grim. Africa 54's Esther Githu-Ewart has our report.
According to the UN study, 4 years after a devastating famine, the number of people in need of emergency aid rose from 17% to more than 850,000, and Somalis in need of food aid stands at 2.3 million. Peter de Klerk, Deputy Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for Somalia, is also the United Nations resident and humanitarian coordinator for Somalia. He says the humanitarian situation in the country remains dire.
Malnutrition rates, in fact, are going to increase before the end of the year due to below average cereal production and poor rainfall in subpastoral and agropastoral areas.
Somalia experienced a devastating famine in 2011. According to the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the situation has since improved, but the number of people in need of humanitarian assistance remains in the millions. The majority of those facing food crisis or emergency are internally displaced persons. The findings further indicate that nearly 215,000 children under the age of 5 are acutely malnourished and face a high risk of disease and death.
Most of the underlying causes of Somalia's protracted crisis remain unresolved, and the sobering reality is that any shock could plunge Somalia into another devastating emergency. We therefore need to ensure that the critical vulnerability levels are brought down and that we reduce the risk of having far too many people slide back into crisis.
The Food and Agricultural Organization in Somalia has also warned of flooding in the coming months due to the weather pattern known as El Nino. The organization says measures are underway to minimize the risk of food insecurity and famine caused by loss of livestock and crops for farmers.
There's a lot of work going on now as we speak, particularly in the Shebele area, along the Shebele River, to reinforce riverbanks, etc., to put sandbags along the barrels, etc. That will just reduce the amount of flooding that actually takes place. Similarly, providing farmers with very simple kits that will allow them to build platforms to protect their seeds and their grain above the floodwaters.
Besides the natural disasters, Somalia's population has been gravely affected by political instability caused by Al-Shabaab Islamic militants. Esther Githu-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
Well, in neighboring Kenya, counterfeit goods are costing the government of Kenya as much as $1 billion each year in lost tax revenue. The fake goods are hurting entrepreneurs who find it hard to carve out a niche in the market and retain customers. But as Lenny Rovaga reports from Nairobi, information technology is being used to try to beat the problem.
34-year-old Jemima Mofigu intently logs her inventory into her computer. She is a businesswoman who deals in perfumes and designer colognes. But in the first year of running her business, she found it hard to keep customers due to counterfeit goods. She says things have improved since she began using a smartphone app known as Barcode Scanner to authenticate her products. Today, she's taking one of her clients through the authentication process before finalizing a sale. She says the app has made all the difference.
With this application, I'm able to scan the barcodes of each perfume and cologne that I'm able to sell to my customers, and instantly I get the manufacture date, the expiry date, and I'm able to know the authenticity of it actually. It will actually point me to the perfume house that I'm looking for. That way I have confidence in selling to my customers.
In 2010, Kenya created an anti-counterfeit agency, ACA, to combat the illicit trade. The ACA has successfully lobbied for steep penalties to deter would-be counterfeiters. Agnes Karingu, the ACA's acting deputy director for research and awareness, tells VOA the agency is trying to stay one step ahead of those making the fake goods.
We're also looking into IT solutions where we can be able to use SMS programs. We can be able to use barcodes and information sharing whereby the end users of the products can actually be able to get the information in the authentication between counterfeit and genuine, and this information comes back to ACA and also to the intellectual property rights holders.
The agency is testing a pilot program known as All Virtuous, another app that checks a product's authenticity by scanning its barcode. The information is then sent to a database before a positive or negative result is fed back to the app. The International Chamber of Commerce says the value of counterfeit goods produced globally is expected to top $1.7 trillion this year. For entrepreneurs such as Mofigu, the new apps will help ensure the products she sells are the real thing. Lenny Ruvaga for VOA News, Nairobi.
Well, as the first sitting U.S. president to visit the Alaskan Arctic, Barack Obama highlighted the urgent need to act on climate change. The White House correspondent Aru Panda has more on the president's Alaskan trip, where he met with locals who said they are feeling the impact of global warming firsthand.
Talking about global warming was not enough. President Obama had to see it for himself.
This glacier's lost about a mile and a half over the last couple hundred years, but the pace of the reductions of the glacier are accelerating rapidly each and every year.
With Tuesday's hike to Alaska's Exit Glacier and boat ride through the Kenai Fjords National Park, the U.S. leader honed his message on the need to urgently act on climate change. Sam Adams is with the World Resources Institute.
The impacts that are happening, not in some distant future related to climate change, but they're happening right now and have been for some time. I mean, the melting of the glaciers, the status of the glaciers is at its most fragile, point in recorded history as a result of climate change.
On the final leg of his 3-day trip, President Obama traveled to remote fishing villages that are losing land and their livelihood to rising sea levels and coastal erosion. While meeting with fishermen in the town of Dillingham Wednesday, Obama noted the need to preserve their way of life amid environmental threats.
But it also represents one of the most important natural resources that the United States has. This is one of the reasons why we have shut off oil and gas exploration in this region. It is too fragile and it is too important for us to be able to endanger it in any sort of way.
Throughout his Alaskan trip, President Obama has emphasized one theme repeatedly: the need to preserve such natural resources for future generations.
And we want to make sure that our grandkids can see this.
Aru Pandey, VOA News, the White House.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. And I want to hear from you, so find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, Benga Beats from Kenyan artist Makadem. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
Going back thousands of years, people in Jordan made a vibrant blue dye out of the indigo plant, until synthetic alternatives replaced the colorful pigment. But thanks to a UNESCO heritage project, indigo is making a small comeback in Jordan. Kamli Al-Maradat says indigo dye is not just connecting Jordanians with their history, it's also an economic benefit. She says, now we found that this is easier, and we won't use synthetics. Valentina Gamba with UNESCO says traditional indigo farming is helping Jordanian women.
This knowledge could become an opportunity to provide income generation for the local women.
Only about 16% of Jordanian women were part of the labor force in 2012, according to United Nations statistics. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Olin Akasholu.
Welcome back. Now, earlier on, we mentioned that Sierra Leone has quarantined up to more than 1,000 people following the death of a 67-year-old woman who was tested positive for Ebola. For more on that, we are joined by Abdullahi Barate, Sierra Leone government spokesman, live via phone from Freetown. Mr. Barate, welcome to Africa 54. Mr. Abdullahi, do you hear me? Mr. Barata in Sierra Leone, do you hear me, please? Okay. All right, looks like we are not getting successful with that line to Freetown. So we move on to today's Music Makers Friday. And today, we're going to feature Kenyan artist Makadem. And I'm joined in the studio by the one and only Heather Maxwell. Welcome back. It's been a while.
Thank you. It has been a while.
Yeah. So today, tell me a little bit about Makadem. I know the guy, but you know a little more about him.
Well, Makadem is a very interesting artist. He plays the nyatiti, but he puts it to a kind of a funky, upbeat groove. And I was taking an interest in Makadem because I'm going to Kenya next week.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research about who am I going to look up when I'm there. Yeah. But also I learned during this research that he is a nominee for the upcoming Afrima Awards for Best Contemporary Artist for a New Song. And Afrima, if you don't know, is it's the biggest African music festival in the diaspora. And it's in Dallas, Texas, here in the U.S.
So you're coming to the U.S.
Yes.
And he plays the nyatiti, but he blends it with other cool things.
Yeah.
And I think we want to watch this song. You remember the name?
I do. Well, I have a cheat sheet. It's Ngangam Ku.
Ngangam Ku. All right, let's listen to this. Ngangam Ku.
Mimi mgangam ku, mimi ni na roga roga, mimi ni na wanga wanga, mimi ni mgangam ku, mimi ni na roga roga, mimi ni na wanga wanga. If I say you come in front, you dance with me, and I tell you to sing oh after me. If I say you stop to dance, stop, and clap your hands, clap, clap, clap. You my zombie. Going down, down, round and round. Put your woman on the front. Let me see you.
Yeah, so, you know, a taste of Makadem with Ngangam Ku.
Yeah.
You know what that means, right? Ngangam Ku.
Witch doctor.
Like a big healer. Let's say big healer. More like doctor. But really nice beats there.
Yeah.
But keeping with the traditional nyatiti instrument.
And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn how to play that nyatiti.
Yeah. You can, because having played
the Ngoni from West Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to really exploring this East African music when I get there.
Okay, now because you're going to Kenya, can you tell us a little more what you're planning to do there?
Yes, I'm going to interview artists. I'm going to go to some local music venues, just get a feel of the pulse of music in Nairobi. There's also a music festival, the Sondeka Music Festival on the weekend, and other musicians from East Africa will also be there, so I'll get a chance to meet them, bring some music back, do some reporting. It's going to be fun. Ketable Music, the ones that actually produced this music video we just saw, I'll be spending time with them because they produce a lot of music like that that's a mix of traditional and modern. I really like that.
Yeah, so we expect to get some music back when you come. Cool stuff, and you'll tell us more about all the musicians. I will,
and I'll play a little Nyatiti.
Please do play Nyatiti. So please, welcome Heather when she comes back home. Yes. I'll wait to hear what you get out of there.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Heather.
Thanks, Vincent.
Now, for more on the fantastic Heather herself, very talented lady, join her on our VOA Music Time in Africa. And you can also check out our website, and you have a Facebook, right? And you type in the keywords Heather Maxwell, and then they'll get to see your program, your radio program, which is heard all over Africa. And also get to know more about some of the musicians that you feature on your program, right? Thanks a lot, Heather. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Why is this alluring pig creating a star on social media? We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Cameroon, authorities evacuate 200 wounded people after twin suicide bomb attacks in Kerawa on the northern border with Nigeria's Borno state left at least 20 people dead. In Morocco, vote begins on Friday in local elections, seen as a test for the ruling Islamists who swept to power nearly 4 years ago. In Senegal, communities struggle to recover after Hurricane Fred slams into the coast, destroying thousands of homes in its path. Finally, in Nigeria, new waves of employment agencies attempt to tackle a massive problem of youth unemployment. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Well, that didn't take long. Meet Denise. It's been less than a month since Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy announced they were splitting after 4 decades together. But it appears that he has already moved on. And here's the lucky lady, a pig. Well, Kermit is still working with Miss Piggy on her late-night talk show, Up Late with Miss Piggy. Despite the drama that Kermit, Piggy and Denise have faced recently, they're all doing their best to remain professional in the days leading up to their TV premiere on September 22nd. Not surprisingly, Denise's picture has already gone viral. Well, and in other viral news, a group of teachers near Moscow welcomed back pupils with a synchronized dance to a song from the hit movie Pulp Fiction. The head of the city's council posted a video showing the teachers dancing on Facebook, which went viral. He added that the pupils loved the teachers' dance routine and cheered them on loudly during and after the performance. Well, and finally, Star Wars enthusiasts start your engines. Fans in New York stood in line for hours outside of the Disney store in Times Square to be among the first to own items from the new collection. Stores opened at midnight around the world for first sales of merchandise for the upcoming movie The Force Awakens, dubbed Force Friday. Thousands of toy stores worldwide encourage fans to dress up in their favorite Star Wars gear. An orange and white cylindrical BB-8 droid that can move, talk, and can be controlled through a smartphone app trended on Twitter hours before stores opened in Europe or the United States. And while it may be cute, it's also pricey. The tiny droid will set you back a whopping $200. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's been an exciting week in sports. For all of the highlights, we turn to Sonny Young with the Sonny's Side of Sports. Sonny.
Hi, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. I'm twirling my trusty red Wilson racket for Serena Williams, the American tennis star who was on a record chase at the U.S. Open in New York City. Serena has already lifted 3 Grand Slam trophies this year at the Australian Open, the French Open, and Wimbledon. If she wins her 4th consecutive U.S. Open singles title, she'll become the first player since Steffi Graf in 1988 to win all 4 major tournaments in the same year. Serena Williams would also tie Graf's mark of 22 Grand Slam championships, putting her 2 behind the record held by Australia's Margaret Court. Serena talks about her record pursuit.
I feel like there's always another record, and then there's always another person to catch up with or to pass. And I never really thought I would be in this position where I would even be talking about, records or talking about passing Steffi Graf or even mentioning Margaret Court. I just grew up trying to be the best that I could and do the best that I could. And, I worked really hard for everything. So to even be mentioned in that conversation is great. But like I said, I feel like I don't put that pressure on myself to do anything here because I'm obviously going to be excited to compete next year and just keep going and have fun.
Serena Williams talks about having fun. Well, when she looks back on 2015, it could be her most fun and successful year on the tennis court. I'm VOA's Sonny Young, and that's the Sonny Side of Sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny. And remember to join Sonny every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great Friday night.
Mimi ni mganga mkuu, mimi ni naroga roga, mimi ni na wanga wanga. Mimi ni mganga mkuu, mimi ni naroga roga, mimi ni na wanga wanga. If I say you come in front, you dance with me, and I tell you to sing oh after me. If I say you stop to dance, stop, and clap your hands, clap, clap, clap. You my zombie. Going down, down, round and round. Put your woman on the front. Let me see you right behind. Now shake that body, bang it, throw. Move a step to the front. Put your hands in the air. Wind that body down low. Take a step to the left, 2 steps to the right. I want to see you shake that thing my way. Kogalo way. Kormaya nyamutimbe, nyamutimbe.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Ali.
On
VOA.
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinnaa qubanayaal goosgoos oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya, Mareykanka iyo caalamkaba.
haddaba qubanaha VOA-da kala soco website-keena voasomali.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report.
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents.
A roundup of the world's top stories.
Here's a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.